He's bringing an attitude of, let's go, let's get these dudes, let's go after them. It's great.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily podcast on fantasy basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast, brought to you by Fantrax and Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and as always, you can find me on Twitter at redrock_bball. Looking today at Saturday's action, breaking down everything that went on Saturday. We're going to be looking at the 7 games that we've got coming up on Sunday as well. I know plenty of you will be wrapped with what's happening with your fantasy team. Plenty of you will be concerned, panicked. But I think we saw some good examples of why maybe it's a little bit early to panic with a few things in Saturday's action. So
let's get to it.
Just a quick reminder again, if you want to help support the show, we've got some t-shirts that are for sale up at tpublic.com/user/redrock_bball. Same as the Twitter handle. You can go there. There's some t-shirts there, and every t-shirt that you buy, which I think most of them look pretty decent. I think all of them look pretty good actually, and it supports the show as well. So head across there. Some designed by myself, some designed by Sam Macy from the Fantasy Fix as well. So you check out those t-shirts there if you're looking for a way to support the podcast. All right, Saturday's action. Some pretty good stuff was going on. I think that's fair to say. I think we know where the big performances were, but I think some of you might be a little bit surprised at who the monstrous line of the night was. It came down to probably 3 candidates. I went with Avery Bradley. Also, shout out to Matt Smith for the title of today's podcast. Matt loves calling Avery Bradley the birdcage. So that's the title of the podcast today. So Matt, shout out to you. Bradley was great, and he's been great all season. To be honest, he's been more than great. He's been awesome. He scored 31 points. He hit 8 triples, 11 rebounds, 4 assists. He nabbed a steal. He went 11 of 19 from the field. Only the 1 of 2 from the free throw line, but I don't think we can complain too much there about Bradley. He's taken his game up several levels this season. He's passing more. He's distributing. He's still a really good three-point shooter. He's still a really good defender. And if you grabbed him in that 70 to 90 zone, he's turning it on for you. He's looking brilliant at this point, and that's exactly what you want out of those late picks. And if he can continue it, which we don't know whether he can do that at this point, but 3 out of 3 basically for Avery Bradley. If you can get that out of the guy that you picked between 70 and 90, maybe even in the hundreds, you go a very long way to winning your league, assuming that 4 of your first 5 picks don't blow up and completely just disappear, which is always a possibility. But Bradley has looked awesome. In fact, he's ranked inside the top 15. Very, very short sample size with a small sample size, but he's averaging 21, 8.5, 4.5 with 4 triples on 52% shooting. Now, all these numbers are bound to come down. He was a 43% shooter last year, so we're talking about 9% above. He's shooting 67% from 3. That's going to drop. He averaged 1.8 assists, so we're talking 3 times his assist rate. I imagine that goes up a little bit, his assist rate, but not to 4.7. He averaged 3 rebounds. He's averaging 8.7 now. I think Marcus Smart coming back takes a little bit away from him. He also probably won't play 37 minutes a night moving forward, and he's not going to average 4 triples. If someone believes that Avery Bradley is going to be a top 15 player and put these numbers up, sure, give them to him and get someone back at top 15 level. But I wouldn't be necessarily anticipating that Bradley was going to slink back to what he did last season. We had him having a pretty significant jump this year, going from 126th the season before up to 76th. That's where our projection sort of puts him in that range, but definitely not to the same. Incorrect. We had him at a similar range where he was last season, but increasing his points, increasing his assists, increasing his efficiency as well, and just not to this same rate. But he's putting up the huge performances, obviously, but there's clearly some room for a regression there with Avery Bradley. The waiver wire line of the night: Dougie McBuckets, Doug McDermott of the Chicago Bulls. He came in, he didn't play very many minutes, but he lit it up. He scored 23 points, he knocked down 5 triples, he had 4 rebounds and 3 assists, a steal and a block, which for Doug McDermott, that's cause for celebration, because he doesn't do these things. He doesn't get rebounds, assists, steals or blocks. It's a big night. 9 of 14 from the field is also great from McDermott, but when I look at it, and you're not trying to pour cold water on it, he did it in 27 minutes. It's a decent amount of time, but he shot 9 of 14. Now, he's a good shooter. He's not going to get these peripheral stats all the time. Will he get this sort of playing time? Yeah, there's a real chance that he can continue to get playing time about this level, but is it someone that I'm grabbing in a 12-team league? No, I think it's he's had 2 games. He had one good one and one that was very, very, very far from good. So, which one is Doug McDermott? He's probably somewhere in the middle. He's not 23-4-3-1-1 with 5 triples Doug McDermott. That's not something I think we should be expecting from him moving forward. But your deeper league guys will want to pay attention. He's going to have that ability to break out. He's going to shoot a high 3-point percentage in those leagues that count that as a category. Your free throw percentage is generally going to be good from Dougie. Just the steal, block, rebounds, assists, I'm not really counting on him doing that again, because that's just not something we've ever seen him do. The young gun of the night talked about people panicking and people perhaps getting a little bit ahead of themselves in terms of performances. Nikola Jokic is your young gun of the night because he just went out there and dropped a casual 23 and 17. He had a 3, 2 assists, 4 steals and a block and went 10 of 20 from the field. There were people even going off in the first half. Why is Jokic playing so few minutes? Well, he played 34 to end this game, and that it's a huge performance. This is why you don't get angry at a player. This is why you don't curse yourself. This is why you don't curse a fantasy writer for suggesting a pick after one game or talking about a guy after one game. Jokic is really good. There are going to be, and this is why we harped on and on and on and on about why he was so risky this year, because there will be nights when I've forgotten the coach, Michael Malone, goes away from him at the end of the game. Inexplicable to me, but there will be times when that happens. There's a lot of inexplicable coaching decisions going on in the NBA at the moment. I thought we wouldn't have any fodder for discussing bad coaching, but there's a few of those things. You're putting Kenneth Faried in at the end of games for defense. It's never going to work well, but that's what Malone continues to do anyway. Jokic, this is where the risk is, but this is how good he is. And if we knew he was getting 30 plus minutes a night, he is a top 15 player. I've said that probably 60 times, I reckon, in the off-season, but we just don't know. And we can't have consistent trust that he actually gets to that level. This is what he can do. A lot of people, Nurkic better than Jokic through the preseason. Nurkic is really good. He's not better than Jokic. There's going to be bad nights from Jokic. I know that. This won't be his best night. I can almost guarantee that he will have better performances than this. This is how good this kid is. And I think at some point, Malone is just going to have to say he has to stay out there 30 plus every night. I feel like eventually talent is just going to grind Malone down and say, we just need this guy out there. But there is the risk involved. And this, again, after one game, this isn't why you don't go, why did I waste a 3rd, 4th, 5th round pick on Jokic? Terrible. Nurkic is better. He's crap. He's terrible. Why doesn't he play? Because then he comes out and puts up a top 3 line like this in game 2. And I won't say you're happy, but you're a little bit more relieved. And that is why. And there's no definite trend to look at this situation and look at it and go, oh, well, I don't think Jokic is going to be able to do this moving forward. Like, he's had one good game, one average game, and he's still ranked inside the top 40, which is probably where you picked him. And he is averaging 2 games, 28 minutes, 14 and 12, 2 assists, 2 steals, half a block, 1 3, 48% from the field and 67 from the line. It's only 2 games, but these are good numbers from Jokic. A really good example of why you don't get yourself worked up, don't get yourself bothered by the performance in one game, especially opening night. If you got yourself worked up over a performance in opening night with Monte Ellis, you'd have been wrapped. 19, 7 and 7 from Monte on the opening night. In game 3, Monte goes for 2, 2 and 5. He has no steals, no blocks, no threes, and shoots 1 of 6 from the field. The Pacers don't look good. They got smashed by the Bulls. They got beaten by the Nets. Then I don't think they're good. I said plenty of times I think that they're taking a step back this season, with other people are talking about them challenging for the 2 seed. Monte Ellis really struggling now. He will be a lot better than this, obviously, moving forward. Jeff Teague was a candidate for this as well. He's been a stinker. You just got to hold Monte at this point. He's going to be a player around that 80 to 100 mark who can get you a pretty nice amount of steals and some out-of-position assists. But it looks like his usage is going through the floor. Opposite of through the roof. It is sinking, and it is sinking fast. He is not getting shots. Thad Young's ahead of him in the pecking order, and Jeff Teague is as well. And Monte is just not getting his shots. He's distributing the ball. His game is changing, but it's not working really in his favour or in fantasy owners' favour at this point. So I need to create a graphic for this. I think for you guys watching on the videos, the dickhead, bonehead, or however we want to phrase it, coaching move of the day. We're our first back-to-back winner of this, and it's Big Ken Atkinson in Brooklyn. The first one, it was for not involving Brook Lopez in the offense. And then there was a few articles coming out, we're going to ramp up Brook's minutes, and he went from 21 to 26, and he scored 25 points in game 2. And then the news comes out after I record the podcast yesterday. Oh, by the way, Lopez won't play in Saturday. It's a back-to-back game. We're going to rest him. Why? For what? Look, the dude hasn't been injured in 2 years. Why are we resting him? What are you saving him for? It doesn't make sense. Why is the whole team on a minutes restriction? Why are we resting guys immediately? What are you preserving Brook Lopez for? It's frustrating as a Brook Lopez owner. Now, Atkinson did come out and say he's not going to sit back-to-backs all year. Oh, thank God. Thanks, man. That's awesome that you're not going to sit him every back-to-back for the season, because if you did, you would have had a lot of pissed people all through the NBA, fantasy community, or not, that the Nets are just going, we're just not playing our best, except Celtics fans, they would have loved it. We're just not playing our best player in 15 games, however many back-to-backs the Nets have got. So he's not sitting back-to-backs in every game. Or he's not sitting a game out of every back-to-back set. Awesome. It's like the Nets came in to pre-season and said, boys, let's just come in here and eat pizza, drink beers, and get to know each other, and we'll just run our pre-season through November. Guys can have nights off, we'll limit all your minutes, and we'll just slowly work into the season. By the time everyone's ready to go, bang, January, that's when we're going to hit them. The new year ticks over, we'll be ready to go. That's what you had September for. That's what October was for. Why are we running our pre-season now? Why are we ramping it up now? I don't understand it. The Nets have got no incentive to lose. Have they got incentive to win? Sure, it's morale building, it's team building, it's all that sort of stuff. They lost by 2 today without their best player. They're not making the playoffs, we know that. But it's an odd start to Kenny Atkinson's coaching career. And you hope that management is behind it. Maybe it's to facilitate a Brook Lopez trade. But if I'm another GM going, and they come to me and go, do you want Brook Lopez? I go, there must be something wrong, because it's game 3 and you dickheads are sitting him out. What are you hiding from me? Why isn't he playing? Why is he playing 20? He's your best player. You've got no incentive to tank. Why are you sitting him out of games and not playing him any minutes? I'll have him. I'll give you back Tony Roten. It doesn't... I'll talk about showcasing for a trade, how I absolutely despise the concept. But NBA executives apparently live by it, and they have to see a player do well against them and in a big minute role because they're going to get traded before they go, you know what, maybe this guy is this, maybe this is what he is. So the converse of that must be true, that if they don't see a guy out there, they just go, we're not trading you for him. Sorry, he didn't play. Can't have it both ways, NBA. Kenny Atkinson, your dual dickhead coach of the night. Let's get into the games and let's take a look at them in a little bit of extra detail. The first one was an early game. That's the Atlanta Hawks and the Philadelphia 76ers. Not a lot happening in this one, so minutes were spread all over the place. We couldn't really get a judge of what the Hawks were doing in terms of that situation with the wings, with Thabo Sefolosha, Kyle Korver, Kenty Bazemore, and Timmy Hardaway. All these guys played in the 20s because the highest minutes that anyone played was Dennis Schroeder at 28. And Schroeder, I got complaints in the first game. Schroeder, 2 assists. What's going on? Well, he had 28 minutes here and went 11, 3, and 11. I hope that suits you better. The 11 assists is nice from Schroeder. He is going to be fine moving forward. Corver looked a lot better. He was 15 points with 3 triples and 2 steals. Only the 24 minutes there. I'm not totally buying him. And Paulie Millsap 17, 4 and 4 in his limited time. Dwight Howard 2 and 7. Only 19 minutes for Dwight. Bazemore played 24. Timmy Hardaway played 19 minutes. But the performance that I really want to focus on here is Mike Muscala, who is a really fantasy useful player. And this has been the case for 2-3 years, and I've dropped his name in the podcast occasionally, saying if he's getting minutes, he's going to be useful. He only played 21 here, but he's the first big off the bench. 14, 5 and 2, 1 steal and 2 blocks. Great shooting. He can hit threes as well. He didn't even take any in this one. He can do all of this stuff. Is he better than Chris Humphries? Yeah. Is he better than Mike Scott? Yep. Is he better than Eddie Tavares? Yep. Deeper league guys, 14, 16 team league guys, if he's getting 22 minutes a night, Mike Muscala can challenge for a top 150 position. Very, very interesting to watch how he goes. Chrissy Humphries had a good defensive night, 2 steals and 2 blocks, but I wouldn't be putting a massive amount of faith in there. And Thabo Sefolosha, 11 points in 19 minutes. Is this offensive Thabo now? Is this what he does now? 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. You could do worse in 12-team leagues. You could do better, probably. But he's interesting, especially given that I have zero confidence in Bazemore and Corver, and not much trust in Hardaway, to be honest, who only shot 3 of 11 after being red hot in the opener. On to the Sixers. Joel Embiid, only the 15 minutes. No need to push him in a game where they're down 30. Still led the team in scoring. 14 points, had a steal, 2 blocks and 2 rebounds. The Sixers have got a back-to-back coming up next week. Interesting to see how they handle him. He looks really good. He has to be owned in every league at this point. Spanish Chocolate, Sergio Rodriguez, 14, 4 and 5 with a steal in 29 minutes. I think he should be owned everywhere as well. And Source Castillo getting a lot of run. 29 minutes, 6 and 5 with 2 threes and a block. Looking decent. I think you want to look at Castillo in 16 team leagues and maybe even 14 team leagues, because he's playing better than Gerald Henderson, he's playing better than Hollis Thompson, he's playing obviously better than Timothé Luwawu-Cabarrot, who's not really in the rotation at this point. Gerald Henderson is struggling a lot, which is fine. There's a real chance for him to work himself into a solid role. Richaun Holmes continues to be really good, 10 and 6 in 20 minutes, but with Okafor ramping his playing time up and Noel eventually coming back, I'm not sure how Holmes really fits in there. Now, they did play Jahlil Okafor and Joel Embiid together. Okafor got 15 minutes, 8 and 4 with a steal. I still don't see how they're going to play 27 minutes worth of Jahlil Okafor. He'll get a little bit of extra run while Simmons is out. I think he's not a hot target of mine to make sure I grab off a waiver wire. As for Dario Saric, who is starting in place of Simmons, he struggled in his first 2 games, 5, 4 and 2. I reckon you can probably do better in 12-team leagues at this point. And Bob Cove was a nightmare, 0 points in 23 minutes. He did have 3 steals, so that's sort of redeeming, but not Bob Cove's best performance. The next game, the Boston Celtics and the Charlotte Hornets. We talked about Brattles already, but what about Jay Crowder? He was filling up the box score, 9, 9 and 4, but 3 threes, 2 steals, 3 blocks. Great performance right across the box score there. Al Horford, this is it for him. 31 minutes it looks like. 14, 4 and 3. A 3, a steal, 2 blocks. Nice numbers. It's in that 4th round range, and I think that's pretty much where he's going to stay. Isaiah Thomas went 24 points and had 7 assists. A solid game from him. Terry Rozier, I think the biggest takeaway we get from Rozier is he's getting 20 minutes. He's not doing it into any production, and when Marcus Smart comes back, Rozier's not taking his minutes away. I think that's a pretty solid conclusion. Jaylen Brown has no real use in 12-team leagues and probably even 14-team leagues at the moment. And the big man situation, it's still a joke. 21 minutes for Amir Johnson, 12 minutes for Tyler Zeller. Jonas Jerebko got 19 minutes. Jordan Mickey got 8 minutes. If you rely upon a Celtics big man, you're going to be pretty disappointed. Onto the Hornets. This was Kemba Walker's best game. 29-3, 2 and 3 with 3 steals and 4 triples in a really good shooting performance. And Nick Batum did sort of Nick Batum-y things. 12, 4 and 6 with 2 blocks. Not a good shooting night from Nick, but that can clearly get better. We had no Roy Hibbert as was expected, and Jeremy Lamb pulled a hammy in this one, and he lasted just 9 minutes. So Cody Zeller got the start for Hibbert. He had 9 boards, he had 2 blocks, he had 7 rebounds. I think that he is a 12-team league guy. He will have to ramp his minutes up over the coming weeks, but I think he's worth it. And Frankie Kaminsky, first game for the season after suffering a foot sprain, 11 and 4, 3 assists, 24 minutes. He's a name to watch for me. I think that he could push himself into 12-team relevance at some point. Spencer Hawes got those minutes with Hibbert out, 6, 5, and 4 with 2 steals and a block. A nice, well-rounded performance that really means nothing in the general scheme of things. And Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, 20 and 10, looks like more of a mirage every game. 7 and 4 in 25 for MKG. Not his best performance there, but he'll be better, as will Marv Williams, my boy, who had 9 and 3 in 30 minutes. The Orlando Magic and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Evan Fournier, again, I had people tweeting at me yesterday, "Oh, what's wrong with your boy Fournier? Should I sell him off now? He's struggling." One game, 9 of 16 for 22 points with 2 rebounds and 5 assists. Bang. And this is something he can do more often. Hit 2 triples. Aaron Gordon only scored 8 points, but 3 boards, 2 assists, 4 steals, 1 block, 1 3. Bang. Again, all across the box. And Gordon's been good in all Magic games. I tell you who hasn't been good in Magic games? The Magic in general. They're looking terrible. I'm glad. And I'll tell you why I'm glad. I apologise to Orlando Magic fans if you're listening to this. I'm glad because I hate when front offices do stupid shit and continually do stupid shit that everybody knows is stupid shit and they expect it to work out. Because you make a dumb decision, and you compound it with another dumb decision, and you compound it with a further dumb decision, you should pay a price for it. And everybody could look at this and go, what is going on with this? This is ridiculous. What are they doing? Why are they trading away young talent for nothing? And I'm glad it's not working for them. I like Orlando fans. I like Orlando Magic as a team. I like their players a lot. I just hate seeing owners meddling and GMs just destroying your potential, not greatness, but potential entertainment. Good. Jeff Green played 28 minutes, so that's awesome for everyone involved. 10 and 10 for Jeff Green with a steal and a block and 2 triples. I've added him in a 14-team league, and I reckon you should consider it in a league of that depth. He's going to get 20 plus a night. He's going to be frustrating. We know that, but he'll be decent for that sort of league depth. Another 34 minutes for Lord Alfred Payton. 10, 4, and 5. Missed both his free throws, so the perfect season is done, but still a nice performance. And DJ Augustine got his best performance in a Magic uniform out of the way. 13, 2, and 3 with 2 triples. And this is what he can do. I've talked about it a few times. He can go in there, get 15 points in 20 minutes, hit a couple of threes, and be useful. He won't do it all that often. Serge Ibaka, 1 foot out of the nursing home. Dropped a nice line. 19 and 7. No blocks, but good percentages. It's a rebound from the crap that he's dished up so far. Still think he's probably a bit of a buy low, but it really depends how. And people, when I say buy low, I mean go aggressively low. If I'm saying Serge Ibaka's a buy low, it doesn't mean throw Jonas Valanciunas at him, because Valanciunas is better, but maybe not in someone else's eyes. It means throw Robin Lopez at him. It means throw Andrew Bogut at him. It means throw Joakim Noah and Andrew Bogut at the owner. It means throw Monte Ellis at him. It means throw any of these guys who are late round picks. It doesn't mean grabbing a guy that, no, Serge is a 40-ish player, let's throw my 50th ranked player. That's not what I'd rather just have my 50th guy in case Ibaka doesn't bounce back. It's taking a risk on a guy that maybe you would just drop anyway, or take 2 guys that are going to be streamers for you, and I hope that Ibaka comes back. It won't work most of the time, but I'm sure most of you guys know, in your leagues, in a lot of your leagues, there'll be a dickhead or two in there who makes a dumb move, especially at this time of year. So that's what I mean by buy low. Nick Vucevic, I don't think I'm buying low on him. 25 minutes only, 11 and 9. That's solid, but it's obviously not top 30-ish. He's going to be in that 60 to 90 range, which was hopefully where he was being drafted. Well, Bismack Biyombo shouldn't be a 12-team league guy. He was 3 and 9 in 19 minutes. Too much time speaking about the Orlando Magic probably there. Cleveland, who play the Orlando Magic, and then got the victory by 6 points. LeBron, he played 39 minutes. This is LeBron taking it easy. 39 minutes. 23, 6 and 9. A steal, a block, 2 threes. Hurrah. Kyrie, 24 and 2 with 2 blocks and 2 threes. Great. Love, 19 and 5 with a block. Solid. And J.R. Smith finally turned up. 16 and 5 with 4 triples, but added a steal and a block. Let's just say that I don't think that you should be hoping for that sort of performance from Junior Smythe moving forward. Tristan Thompson, I don't think you should care that he got 2 points. You should care that he got 12 boards, a steal, and a block, because that's what you wanted him for. Big rebounding numbers, and he delivered that. It's obviously be better if he gave you 12 points than 2 points, but that's not the big concern there. Dick Jefferson and Mick Dunleavy, They continue to play minutes around the 20s and continue to not do too much. They're really just, they're going to have value in 16-team leagues because they're continually going to have this role. I don't think there's anything changing that role for them, but they're just not going to be productive enough. And Iman Shumpert grabbed himself another 3 steals. He's a steals stream guy at this point in his career, and good to see Kay Felder make his NBA debut. Played 5 minutes and scored 2 points, so he's obviously not a huge part of the rotation there in Cleveland. The Memphis Grizzlies and the New York Knicks. Marc Gasol, well, we heard David Fizdale come out and say that Gasol and Conley are going to be on a slight minutes limit over the weekend. Conley played 24 minutes. That's the minutes limit. 11, 5, and 5. Gasol played 31 and went 26 and 3 with a block and a 3. A good night from Gasol, not that accurate with his shooting. But what it means to me is that when the Grizzlies play against Sunday, Gasol's playing 24 minutes or 23 minutes. He's going right down. This is his minutes limit. And I think we can assume Conley goes back up to a 30-minute mark in Sunday's action as they alternate those two guys. Jim Ennis got another start with Chandler Parsons out. That'll continue to be the case. 16 and 4 with 2 threes and an assist. Should be owned everywhere at this point. And Zach Randolph, he looks like he's going to struggle to get huge amounts of minutes. Only 21 here, but he's chucking up shots. There's no doubt about that. 14 in 21 minutes. 13 points and 9 rebounds. We saw Jarrell Martin onto the court. He replaced Deontay Davis in the rotation. He actually played really well. Jarrell Martin, 13 points in 13 minutes, but I don't think we rely too much there. 10 and 8 for JaMychal Green with a block. That's sort of what you wanted him for. And Wade Baldwin played despite having some knee soreness. And shockingly enough, he didn't get 3 steals and 3 blocks. He played 22 minutes, so he's in the rotation significantly, which we thought he would be at the start of the year. 5, 2, and 3. That's probably more what you can expect from Wade moving forward, and that's why you wouldn't have been selling the farm to go and grab him in a 12-team league, more of a 14 to 16-team league guy. Also, Andrew Harrison, still bad. 4 points in 25 minutes for him. The Knicks. Yes. 36 minutes for Kristaps. This is Kurt Rambis. I know you're there watching. Rambis is probably there watching and going to Hornacek and whispering in his ear, play him 25 minutes. Play him as a small forward, Jeff. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you playing him as a center and making him a focal point? He should be posting up as a 3-man. Come on, Horny, what are you doing? And then Rambis runs to Phil Jackson and goes, Phil, Jeff's ruining it. He's taking our best player and playing him the right way. What is he doing? Porzingis is great. 21 and 5, 2 assists, 1 block, 1 3. This is why he's going to challenge to be a first-round pick next year. This combination of blocks and threes and points and percentages, it's hard to get. Derrick Rose, more of the same from Rose. 13, 4, and 3. 2 steals and a block. You're not counting on that moving forward, but an okay line. Just the assist won't come from him. We know that. 26 and 5 from Mallow. And Courtney Lee bounced back from an absolute turd on opening night. 16, 3, and 1 with a steal and 2 triples. That's awesome from Courtney Lee, but I put very, 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 very little trust in him doing that again. Brandon Jennings had 6 in 16 minutes. Any hopes that anyone thought that he's going to be a 12-team league guy? He will be when Derrick Rose misses, sure, but you can't hold on waiting for that fact. Joakim Noah, 6, 10, and 7 is a really good performance. He only played 22 minutes, and that is the concern, that the minutes just aren't going to be there. And for him to get 6, 10, and 7 in 22 minutes moving forward, I reckon that's going to be tough to do. So, look, you hold him for now. But, yeah, look, let's just see how it plays out over the first couple of weeks. Justin Holiday continuing to be a pretty significant part of the rotation, and unfortunately my boy Mindaugas Kuzminskas did not play at all, which is disappointing. Kylo Quinn is ahead of Billy Hernan Gomez as well, which is good because I like Cock. 11 and 6 for him in 19 minutes. Brooklyn and Milwaukee, here we go, the Kenny Atkinson game. Trevor Booker. 31 minutes for Booker, 14 and 14, 1 steal, 2 blocks. I think that in 12-team leagues, you want to look at Booker. He's a talented guy, and he was decent last season when Derek Favors and Rudy Gobert were out, but they never gave him huge minutes. If they're going to continue to give him 30 minutes, you want to own him. Now, that's the problem with Atkinson. What's he going to do? How many minutes is he going to give Trevor Booker? I think that depending on what you've got that's expendable, you want to look at Booker. He's going to grab the boards. He can get some blocks and steals. He can score decently. He's worth looking at. Bojan Bogdanovic bounced back. He had 26 points. He also grabbed 8 rebounds, which is a big amount for him. So that's great. And he's a fringe 12-team league guy, but I probably still would have him. And Luis Scola, in 18 minutes, went 14 and 8 with a steal. That's pretty fluky. After his big opening night, Justin Hamilton really sort of struggling offensively, 6 and 3, but 3 steals and 2 blocks. That's fluky. He can rack up numbers, but that sort of 5 combined steals and blocks is a little fluky. And he won't play 30 minutes and start when Brook Lopez is back for the next, or if Brook Lopez is back for the next. He'll be back. So Hamilton is a fringe 12 guy, probably a 14-team league guy. Jezza Lynn, 12, 3 and 10 with 3 steals and a 3. A horrible shooting night. For Lynn, just 4 of 16, but that's really nice statistics for him. And Sean Kilpatrick, this is what he does. Low minutes in the 20s, threes and points. He had 15 points in 24 minutes, got a steal and a block. And you deeper league guys, you 14-team league guys, he has to be on your radar. A player that may not need to be on your radar any longer is Rondé Hollis-Jefferson. He's not getting minutes. That's a concern. He's only playing 23 in this game. 2 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 block. You take it out to 30 minutes and we've got 7, 8 rebounds, 1.5 blocks. That's decent. And I said this a million times again in the preseason. Yes, his metrics came out looking at the 67th ranked guy, but he was not the 67th ranked guy. Those are not rankings. That is not where you should have been looking at drafting him. He was a late pick. A last 2 or 3 pick is where you should have targeted him. And we assumed he was getting 30 plus minutes. We didn't know Kenny Atkinson was just going to come in here and have the rotation on the whiteboard. Here's our common sense rotation. The assistant coaches will say, Ken, we've got it. This is how we should run it. These are our best players. Brook Lopez, Jeremy Lin. Here is our young talent, Rondé Hollis-Jefferson. These are the guys we should be playing. Atkinson comes in, unzips, and just pisses all over it. And goes, sorry boys, we're just not doing that. Let's get Joe Harris in there for 25 minutes because that's what's going to win us games. Hollis-Jefferson will be better than this, but he's expendable. You can move on from him. If there's someone, and you don't drop him out. There's no hate drop. I'm dropping you, Rondé. Bang, cop that. It doesn't work that way. If there's someone you want to grab him. But don't drop Hollis-Jefferson. If you're in a 16-team league and go, why did I waste a pick on you? Don't just drop him for the point of it, just for the sake of it. Because I can tell you one person who doesn't give a shit if he gets dropped, and that's Rondé Hollis-Jefferson. No point in doing that. If there's someone you want to grab, sure, do it. TJ Warren for Rondé Hollis-Jefferson's a pretty common move at the moment. All for it. People are saying, do I grab Thabo over Rondé? Yeah, might as well. Thabo is producing, but I still feel that the upside for Hollis-Jefferson is significantly higher for these guys, and I am not a panic move sort of guy. It hasn't looked good, I'll admit that, and if I did grab Rondé, which I think I've got him in maybe 1 or 2 leagues, maybe, if I did grab him, I grabbed him because I want to get steals, and I want to get some decent rebounding at the position, and it's not coming yet, but I think it will start to come. Anthony Bennett saw the rotation, which is good news with Brook Lopez out. 9 points with 2 triples, and he was decent. And that's the best thing you can say for Anthony Bennett at this point. On to the Bucks. Jason Kidd. If you know what Jason Kidd is going to do on a given night, just send them the details, because Jason Kidd doesn't know what Jason Kidd is going to do on a given night. Why do we bother starting Miles Plumlee and play him 8 minutes a night? Why bother? Why bother with that? Now, Rashad Vaughn was good in this game. I'll give him credit. I've been pretty anti-Rashad Vaughn. But he took 17 shots and Giannis took 18 shots. That isn't really how that shot distribution should go. 22 points for Vaughn, 6 triples, a steal and a block. Easily the best game of his career. Tony Snell started, and this is Tony Snell. 6 points and 2 rebounds and nothing else. You were told not to get your hopes up, and I hope you didn't. What do we do with Vaughn? He's not good. This is a good performance. Maybe he builds on it. Some people do have faith in him. I know that Fox Sports Australia's NBA or lead basketball writer Olgun Ulic, who's pretty significantly into the scouting world, has got a lot of good things to say about Rashad Vaughn, and he constantly needles me on Twitter saying, one day you're going to see it. I go, cool, I'll see that. But at the moment, he's terrible. So maybe there's something coming with Rashad Vaughn. It's not happening yet. Johnny Henson looked great. 7 points, 12 rebounds, the tip-in winner, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Big performance from Henson. But we know that Jason Kidd hates him. He played 10 minutes in the opener. What are they going to do with him moving forward? It's a crapshoot. we know that Plumlee's going to start and absorb 8 minutes and then disappear. Greg Monroe played 19 minutes. He went 11-3-3 and had 4 steals in 19 minutes. That's decent production. And production's never been the issue with Greg Monroe. So when I was down in him in preseason, it was never, I think this guy can't rack up stats. I think this guy can't play. It's like, I think Jason Kidd won't play him. And he played 29 and then he played 19. So which one is it, Jace? I don't think anyone's going to know the answer to that. Giannis, 21 and 11. Only the 3 assists and 2 steals and 2 blocks, but a nice performance nonetheless. And Daly had a huge game. 36 minutes for Dellavedova. 14, 3 and 9, 3 steals. I reckon you got to look at him in 12-team leagues. Assists are hard to get. He racked them up in preseason. Another 9 here. It's going to continue to happen for him. He can get steals. He can hit threes. I think you should be owning Dellavedova in 12-team formats. Jabari Parker, not a great night. 14, 8 and 4. Just average. And Mirza Tolidovic is clearly out of 12-team calculations. And Malcolm Brogdon, after a great opener, went 0 of 5. Not his best performance, but I still have faith in Brogdon. He's better than Snell. He is better than Rashad Vaughn and will be better. And fantasy-wise, he'll be better than both of those guys as well. We just need to have him locked into a big role. And unfortunately, it's Jason Kidd coaching, so it's not happening. Unfortunately. Indiana and Chicago. Miles Turner was great again. 20 points, 4 rebounds, 3 blocks. He's not the best player on this team, but he's not far off it. They got smashed by the Bulls, so limited minutes. 22 for Turner. We saw Paulie George at just 24. He had 20 points with 4 triples as well, and Thad Young went 10, 5, and 3 in his 27 minutes. Mighty Joe Young continues to look good. Aaron Brooks, it was out with his knee issue. Young's better than Brooks. Brooks really struggled last season. Young's going to be better. 11, 2, and 3 with 2 triples. I do believe in Mighty Joe Young. He's a really deep league guy, but watch him be able to get 17 or so minutes as a backup point guard this season. Because Jeff Teague is stinking. He had 0 points. He missed all 7 of his shots. He had 4 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 steals. Now, I got a tweet today saying, do I drop Jeff Teague because he scored 0 points? No, you don't. 8 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals is nice production, but you don't drop Jeff Teague unless your league is 6 teams deep. And if so, can you just tweet me and I'll retweet your league so you can get at least 10 blokes in there and have a decent size league going. Get it bigger than 6. Teague is not that good. He's a comfortable downgrade from George Hill, and people are going to realise that this season. He'll have better nights than this. He had 20 in the opener, and his assist numbers are pretty good. He's obviously taking the ball out of Monte Ellis's hands a decent chunk, but he's going to stink a lot of times. It doesn't mean you drop him. I just hope you didn't invest a top 50 pick in Jeff Teague and hope for him to get his per 36 numbers from Atlanta and just add 5 minutes on and go, well, here we go. Here's what we're going to get, because it was never going to be the case over in Indiana, I didn't think. Kev Seraphin, a guy that I've had a lot of faith in for a long time, 8 and 4 with 2 steals and a block in just 12 minutes. That's good to know for me. If he jumped Al Jefferson in the rotation, I'd be surprised because I don't think the coaches would do it, but I wouldn't be surprised in terms of a talent standpoint. That's how much I do believe in Seraphin, and not much else to talk about for this team. 20 minutes to CJ Miles, though, so that's interesting that he is clearly in that backup 6-man swingman role sort of job for him. On to the Bulls, the sharp-shooting, offensively dynamic Chicago Bulls. I had someone leave a comment on my Chicago Bulls YouTube preview, so you might want to rethink your comments on the Bulls. I couldn't be happier that the Bulls are playing well. I'm a Bulls fan. I don't know how much of this is fool's gold or not, or how much of this is going to be able to continue, but championship, here we come? Probably not, but some good performances. Dwayne Wade only needed 21 minutes to go 14, 5, and 2. Jim Butler went 16, 5, and 3. Rondo with his 6 points, but dished 13 assists and a steal. Robin Lopez played 19 minutes, 12 and 6, and had 2 blocks. Mirotic, not his best night, 8, 3, and 2. Taj Gibson, 12 and 8. Mick Carter-Williams, 7 points, 5 assists, 2 blocks. Really nice numbers. I tell you who was bad, Bobby Portis. He's just not good at this point, folks. But I love that Denzel Valentine got in the game, but I still hate that he is behind Isaiah Cannon in the rotation. But I can't complain about Cannon because he hit 3 triples and he hit them at 60%. He's never been a good 3-point shooter. He's a good 3-point... No, let's try that again. He's never been a good 3-point... He's been a good 3-point shooter. He's never been a good 3-point maker. But that's a good effort from Isaiah Cannon. But the Bulls flying. Gibson is a 12-team league guy. At this point, back end, yes. Robin Lopez, I'm worried about. I'll give him a little bit more time, but his leash is not all that long. The minutes are a real concern, and they will use Mirotic and Taj over him for big chunks of time. The New Orleans Pelicans and the San Antonio Spurs, Anthony Davis didn't drop 50, unsurprisingly, against the Spurs. He was still their best player, 18 and 5 with 3 blocks, so a decent night from Davis. Etuan Moore bounced back after a really slow start, had 18 points, had a steal and a block, but no other stats. A really weird one for him. He's on the borderline for me for 12-team leagues, not bad, and Timmy Frazier couldn't keep up his all-star form. Only 5 points, but 4 rebounds and 7 assists. Obviously, he's a must-own guy. Let's check on Bud Hield. Well, he had 8 points, so that's a start. He had 2 steals, he had 5 rebounds, but shot 3 of 10. Keep him away from your standard leagues. Keep him probably out of your 14-teamers at this point. And Terrence Jones, am I justified? Am I vindicated? He's really bad. He played 14 minutes, 4 and 4. The preseason was as big a lie as we've seen from anybody. But the thing is if for some reason they give him 30 minutes, the fantasy stats are going to pour. They're just going to come. But he's just so bad. And you know who else is bad? Lance Stevenson. 18 minutes for Lance, 2 points and 4 assists. And the first 2 games looked good for him. I got into some discussions, semi-heated Twitter discussions with people, me telling him how bad he is. Nah, Lance is good, he just needs minutes. He's not good. He shouldn't be on your 12-team roster. Neither should Terrence Jones. And neither should Solomon Hill, to be honest. He's got a set role and he does defensive stuff, but it doesn't translate into any stats. On to the Spurs. I talked about Kenny Atkinson having issues with resting guys. Pop came out and said, Tone Parker, Manu, you're not playing either on a back-to-back. Now, why do I have no issue with Pop doing it? I have a minor issue, but Ginobili's 40 years old. Tony Parker's 34 years old, and the Spurs are going to be there at the end. The Spurs are playing for something, so they've got a reason to potentially sit guys, and Tony Parker's not good anymore. Manu Ginobili's good, but he's not a massive key cog. It's not your best player, like the Nets did, who have got no reason to do this. They're not preparing for anything. They're not ramping up for anything. They're not doing anything. The Spurs are. That's the difference. Frustrating, but you're not owning Tony Parker in a 12-team league. Well, you shouldn't be. Manu Ginobili, same. Kawhi, only the 28 minutes, 24, 3, 2 steals, 2 triples. Still nice production, but obviously the minutes cap, hampered him, and it was because it was a smashing. LaMarcus Aldridge, just the 25, 12 and 6. Let's check on Pau Gasol. Well, he played only 22 minutes, so that's 3 games where he hasn't played over 22. 9, 8, and 5, so good production from Pau. I'm worried about him, but it's definitely not drop Pau Gasol time. We just wait and see how it goes, and let's see how long it... Look, it took LaMarcus Aldridge 3 months to fit into the Spurs system, and then he blew up. And he was putrid to start the season, Aldridge. He was not good at all. He was better than what Gasol currently is, and he's got a few years on him in terms of age, but he was not good to start the season. So Gasol running through those concerns at the moment is sort of to be expected. You just hold him for now. If you can trade him and get value back, great. But I am still a bit worried because Dwayne Dedmon has clearly outplayed him in a lot of situations. 16 minutes for Dedmon, 5 and 6 with a steal and 2 blocks. A nice night there. Deep league guys, you need to keep your eyes peeled for Nicholas Laprovitola. Now, he played because Tony Parker was out, but when Parker misses, Laprovitola played 22 minutes and went 7, 4, and 4. The Spurs guys rave about him. When he first came in, they didn't think he'd make the roster, but they said, you know what, he looks bloody good, and he did. He's clearly ahead of DeJounte Murray at the moment, and he put up some numbers. Deeply, guys, you need to pay attention to Nicholas Laprovitola. Kyle Anderson got 26 minutes, and this is sort of what we expect from Anderson. A 1-1 with 7 boards. Only the 1 assist, but decent-ish numbers. Obviously, the Spurs 4-game week is almost over, and there's no real point in holding on to Kyle Anderson in leagues after that, but he got an opportunity. He was okay at it. John Simmons' minutes went back up. He wasn't awesome, but he was all right. 11, 3, and 1 with a steal and a block. But he's not worth really dealing with in a standard sort of format either. Portland and Denver. Dame Lillard probably should be a little bit aggrieved to not find himself as the monstrous line of the night. 37 points in 41 minutes, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, and 1 block. A huge performance from Lillard. He was also 15 of 27 from the field, and when you look back on it, maybe it was a little bit harsh not to give it to him, but that's the way it worked out for Lillard. A huge performance there. CJ was great as well. Defensively awesome. 23 and 10 for him, but 2 triples, 3 steals, and 3 blocks. Great numbers from those 2 guys. Al-Farouq Aminu bounced back after a couple of poor performances. 5 and 12, but key is he had 3 blocks, he had a steal, and he had a triple. And Alan Crabb dropped 12 in 29 minutes and also had 4 assists. And he's actually working on his ball handling. He looks a little bit better in that area at this point, and that's something that he needed to add that to his bow. This is the issue with Mo Harkless. He got 32 minutes here, nowhere near as good in that first performance, and that makes him a borderline 12-team league guy. Evan Turner looked better, but still not in that range. And another big night for Mason Plumlee, 13, 2, and 5. Yeah, probably should be owned in 12-team leagues, but there is going to be some issues there, clearly. Myers Leonard actually played more minutes than Noah Vonleh for the first time in a while, but neither of those guys are really troubling the scorer. On to the Denver Nuggets. Yusuf Nurkic barely saw the court in the second half. 23 minutes for him, 12 and 9 and a block, so good performance, but just frustrating use of the rotation from Malone. And Ken Fareed played 30 minutes, only the 7 points for Fareed, but 2 steals, 2 blocks, and 9 rebounds, and he's racking up the defensive stats. And if there's one thing I'm not putting faith in, is that Ken Fareed continuing to put up defensive stats. So in terms of do I buy Ken Fareed? Do I pick him up? Yeah, okay, I can see them using him, but I'm also not expecting all these steals and blocks to just keep coming out of him. Also, a big end performance from Emmanuel Mudiay. 21, 7, and 4 with 3 steals. He had struggled, and his field goal percentage wasn't great, but he played a lot of minutes, and he got things going here, as did Will Barton, who played 41 and went 16 and 6, and 42 for Gallo with 17 and 5. Jamal Murray, clearly a fair way down the pecking order, only playing 12 minutes. That helps for Barton's value moving forward when Gaz Harris returns, which should be in the next game or two. And Barton's value will drop off, but he will maintain a bit of it because Murray, they just don't seem to be wanting to use him just at this point. On to the last game, the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Sacramento Kings. Huge win for the Kings. They were down big, and a horrible loss from the Timberwolves, to be honest. To lose these first 2 games after having such sizable leads is really disappointing. The big news from the Timberwolves' point of view is Ricky Rubio went down with an injury, a sprained elbow, they're calling it. They'll be re-evaluating it on Sunday, so this might be when you're listening to this. We don't know what that means at this point, but he could miss a game or two, so go and add Chris Dunn if you've got that opportunity to. Dunn did not look good. 4 points, 4 assists, and 1 rebound. He continues to not look good, but if he's forced into 30-plus minutes, the stats will start to come. That doesn't mean drop Rubio by any means. This might be a situation where he misses a game, 2 games, that's it. But a preemptive ad of Dunn is fine. We can be pretty confident that Nemanja Bjelica is not taking minutes off Gorgui Dieng. 13 for Bjelica, 1.4 rebounds. Dieng, 14 and 13 with 2 blocks. He's going to be a top 30 guy potentially this season, and I do love that. Zachary Levine, 21 and 5. And Karl-Anthony Towns, a bit quiet, just didn't touch the ball enough. 15, 6 and 4 with 2 steals and a block. Hit a 3, did it all. I'll tell you who didn't do it all, though. Andy Wiggins. He played 37 minutes. That's a big tick, and that's what we hope. He scored 29 points. Awesome. He hit a 3. Even better. He got 1 rebound. He got 0 assists and has not had an assist all season. He got 0 steals and had 1 block. These things need to get better. If he's going to take that jump to be a top 50 guy, which I still think he can, he has to do better in these other areas, and I'm not sure exactly what it is that's causing these issues. On to the Sacramento Kings. They've got 5 games next week, so make sure Ty Lawson's owned. Make sure Matty Barnes is owned. I was going to say Aaron Aflalo, but maybe with his 5 games. We'll talk about that more in tomorrow. I'm going back in time. We'll talk about that in tomorrow's episode. But these guys you need to look at. Rudy Gay is re-energized. 28, 5 and 2, a steal and 2 blocks. Huge. Barnes, 12, 5 and 9. 3 triples, a steal and a block. Has to be owned. Boogie, 29, 74. Not 74, 29, 7 and 4. 2 thumbs up. Ty Lawson, he's not involved offensively. He's not scoring, and I think Collison is going to take a fair chunk of his minutes, and he will get his job back, but Lawson's going to be in the rotation. 8 points, 5 assists, 3 steals. It's usable. Macklemore looked great. 13 points in 18 minutes. No other stats, but he looked good, and he's looked better than Aaron Aflalo, to be honest, because Aflalo's terrible. Costa Koufos continues to start. Willie Cauley-Stein continues to be a disappointment. And Omri Caspi actually played 10 minutes. But if you're in a 12-team league, there's no reason to hold on to Omri Caspi. If you're in a 14-team league, there's no reason to hold on to Omri Caspi. Maybe if you go to 6, same thing with Willie Cauley-Stein. Maybe if you go to 16 teams, then you can consider it. But he just hasn't seen the floor enough in these first couple of games. All right, that is it for looking back at Friday's action. And take a quick break, and then we're going to be back to preview Sunday's action for DFS.
I saw your picture today.
All right, we are back here, guys, and I started recording this show, and it was dark. It was pissing down with rain here. I thought, you know what, I don't need to go and put all my shade up. I don't need to do any of that. 20 minutes later, the sun is like shining as bright as anything. It's all over me here, and so I apologize for the shadow that came out of nowhere, because it was literally thunderstorming here. I didn't even know if I'd be able to record because the rain was that loud on the roof. And here we go. Half an hour later, and there is sun all over the place. So apologize for that shadow that's coming in. Let's look at the first game of the night for DFS, and it is the Utah Jazz and the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, this is an early-ish sort of game, but not a full, not a matinee, but it is a little bit earlier. So check your slates to see whether it's included. The Clippers are favored by 8 points, and the total is 196. So we've got a few slow games in this one. This is not the slowest pace prediction by Vegas. So we've got a few slow. We've got some ripping huge ones as well, but this is one of the slower ones. Let's talk about looking at the point guards in this battle. It's George Hill versus Chris Paul. Now, Chris Paul did a number on Dame Lillard in terms of his production in the last game. Lillard was still good, but not as good as he could be. But when we have a look at Chris Paul and George Hill, I think the value in George Hill is definitely here in this one. He's at 6,200. He's looked great. He's averaged 34 points across his first 2 games. Paul is a concern, but I do think that George Hill is worth using. Now, as for Paul himself, he's at 9,300. That's not all that. That's 500 more than what Steph Curry is. We're talking FanDuel pricing here. It's not great for me. I think we can do a bit better than that at the point guard spot. Austin Rivers and Ray Felton are going to play their 20 minutes, but is it going to be enough? Probably not. Same with Shelvin Mack and Dante Exum. At shooting guard, Rod Hood is at 5,700. Hasn't changed in salary. A little bit of a downer in the last game, and the Clippers always seem to restrict shooting guards. I don't hate Hood, but I'm not in love with him. I'm not locking him into lineups or anything like that. JJ Redick at 4,400. Tournament punt only. My confidence in him is not very high. Jamal Crawford, he had 27 in the opener, but he's at 4,900. It's just too expensive for me to be interested. The Clippers small forwards are a joke. Wes Johnson, Luke Marmute, no thanks. Joey Johnson at 5,500. It is too expensive. I can't get behind using Joe Johnson. Look, it might work out, but it just, in terms of expected value, it's just not there. 7,500 for DeAndre Jordan. He only had 21 in the open, a bit of a disappointment. His salary's dropped $500 as a result, so he is definitely in play. So is Rudy Gobert, who's at 7,100, who's averaging 35 across the Jazz's first 2 games. At 7,100, can he get to that level? Yeah, sure he can. I think both of those centers, they make okay options. Probably not the best centers out there on the board, but they're in the conversation to be included into lineups. Oh, you know what? I've gone out of order here. The sun's thrown me off. Let's talk about the perfect DFS lineups before we get on to the next game. On FanDuel, it was Dame Lillard at 56.5. It was Emmanuel Mudiay at 36.4 as your point guards. For your shooting guards, Avery Bradley at 51.2. CJ McCollum at 49.5. The small forwards, Bojan Bogdanovic, 36.6. Rudy Gay at 41. Power forwards, Trevor Booker at 38. Nikola Jokic at 55.4. And Boogie at center gives you 42.4 for a total of 407.3. On DraftKings, we went McCollum at 53.5. Avery Bradley at 57.75. LeBron at 48. Booker at 40.5. And Jokic at 58.75. Then Lillard at 60.25, Bojan Bogdanovic at 39, and Dougie McDermott at 38.5, and all of that would have given you a total of 396.25 points. Now, back to where we were. Looking at these games, the second game we're looking at is the San Antonio Spurs and the Miami Heat. This is the second half of the back-to-back, so we expect Tony Parker back, we expect Manu Ginobili back, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Pau Gasol sits this one out. I don't think Kawhi's sitting out, LaMarcus Aldridge isn't sitting out, none of the other guys will, but Pau fits into that older player zone with Parker, with Ginobili. Pau is a chance to sit out this one. Now, he might not, just because Pop wants to keep integrating him into the lineup. Apologies for that cough. But yeah, it's a chance that he sits. So just keep that in mind. On the Miami side of things, Hassan Whiteside's dealing with an elbow issue. He got some stitches on Friday. He'll be ready to play. I'm going to cough again. I'm sorry. Oh, damn. Whiteside's going to play. I don't think Joshy Richardson's going to play. He's still recovering from that torn MCL. No, it doesn't appear that he'll be ready probably next week, but it doesn't look like he's going to be ready for this game. Let's look at the point guard battle out here. Goran Dragic is at 6,600. His salary's dropped by $200. It's not quite at the salary that I'd want, especially going up against the Spurs. So I think you can do better than Goran Dragic at the point guard spot. Patty Mills dropped 26 today with Parker out, but with Parker back, then you might get 2 minutes less from Mills. He's at 3,900, so he's always a tournament option because he can get hot and he can score 8-9 points in a minute. He could easily do that. And that might leave Pop to leave him in for a bit more. Maybe the game's a blowout. He's always a tournament option, Patty Mills. Tyler Johnson is also worth considering, but he's up to 40. He's at 4,500, so it's a little bit high. He's played 28 minutes a night for the last couple of games, and he's averaging 24 points. At 4,500, that's okay value. Don't mind using him. I hate using Tony Parker as a point guard, and that's the point guards done really that need considering. Dion Waiters at 4,600. The minutes are there. He's getting 33 or 34 minutes most nights. Is the production? Well, he's averaging 23. And at 4,600, it's not bad. It's basically right on where it needs to be. Until Josh Richardson comes back, it feels like he's going to get those 33 minutes each night, which feels like a dumb coaching move because he hasn't been good. But he could easily get 25 points. I don't think that's hard for Dion Waiters to do. Manu at 3,700. He should be back. At 3,700, yeah, maybe if you're just trying to squeeze some other big names in, that's about where it ends for him. And yeah, that's really it. Small forwards, Kyle Anderson at 3,500, still minimum salary. He had an 18-point game today. He's fine to throw into a tournament, and maybe you just hope that a 24 or 25 pointer comes out. But in cash games, no thanks. 4,900 for Justice Winslow. This is not a good situation. If Kawhi is going to be on him, no thank you for me. And John Simmons at 3,900, tournament flyer, and that's literally it. Lukey Babbitt, James Johnson are playing about 20-25 minutes a night as the Heat small forward, as Derek Williams is out of the Heat's power forward, as Derek Williams is out of the rotation. But it's too much minute splitting for them to be useful to me. At power forward, David Lee. Probably not going to be registering much interest. And LaMarcus Aldridge at 7,600. I think the minutes could be down again in this one for Aldridge. I'm definitely not spending up on him. At center, you can forget about Pau Gasol. No chance of using him. Hassan Whiteside at 8,300. The Spurs have done a good job with Whiteside in the past. 8,300 is a little bit expensive. It's not terrible. And if you got some cash around, you could throw him out there. The other news on Hassan Whiteside, which is more important for seasonal league guys, he changed his free throw stroke. For what reason, I have got no idea, and this falls on his shoulders, and it falls on the Miami Heat coaching staff. The guy can't shoot free throws. So last season he comes out and goes, halfway through, I'm pissed. I can't shoot free throws. Here is my new method. I'm going to jump shoot them. And they're going to go in. And they're going to go in at 70+%. Awesome. Fixed. Comes back. Nah, boys, let's just go back to the other one that doesn't work. And the Heat goes, yeah, okay, Hassan, you just do that. Just go back to the old style that doesn't work. Why? What could possibly have gone through any of their heads to say, we found something that works, let's go and do something that clearly doesn't work, and do it for the entire preseason and 2 games of the regular season? Sometimes the things that these people do is just so confusing to me. But Hassan's come out and said, oh, you know what, let's go back to the style that works. No shit. Well done. He's doing it. So rotisserie owners, seasonal league guys, let's hope that free throw percentage goes back up to that 65, 70%, 75% maybe that he was hitting last season. Just one of the more low-key, baffling things that's happened so far in this NBA season. Why you would do that, I've got absolutely no idea. But Hassan Whiteside, not noted as a mental giant. The next game we're going to take a look at is the Milwaukee Bucks and the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons are favored by 7.5. We've got a low total here, 194.5 points. Reggie Bullock is questionable with back spasms. That's not going to have too much of an impact. He may make the rotation, but I think that when you're looking on Basketball Monster with our what-if scenarios, I'd be putting Bullock as out and using that sort of rotational decision. At point guard, Ish Smith is at 6,200. I'll go the other side and I'll take Dellavedova at 4,400. I think Dally is a really good player at that salary. He dropped 36 today. Now, he probably won't get to 36 again, but if he gets to 26, I'm happy. I like Dellavedova at that salary. Ish Smith, no. You know what? Beno Udrih, he could get 20-plus minutes. He got 20 today, and he scored 23 points. That's pretty decent. Now, it was a blowout, so he got some extra run, but 36 minutes for Beno Udrih, 3,600 for Beno Udrih is something that I don't think you should completely ignore. Malcolm Brogdon, yeah, well, Jason Kidd, yeah, thanks. Shooting guards, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, 4,800. Caldwell-Pope had a real proclivity for just stringing stinkers together in a row last season, and then he'd come out and string big games in a row. He's had 2 absolute dog turds so far. Can he go out and put up a big one? In a cash game, you're just going to be going, no chance, not interested. In a tournament, not many people will be on KCP. And he could go out there and he could give you at 4,800, he could give you 35 points. He could do it. He's been brutal. He's been terrible. But this is what he's done over his career, is just have a few stinkers, have a few good ones, have a few stinkers. Tournament people, pay attention. Giannis Antetokounmpo is at 9,500. He's averaging 48 points so far, which is really good at that salary. I think he's fine to consider using. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's a good defender. Can he defend Giannis? That's a concern. Can you defend a 6'11 point guard? It's one thing to defend Kyrie Irving or to defend Steph Curry. Can you defend Giannis? That's the concern. Small forwards, Stan Johnson's at minimum salary. He got some extra minutes, 28 of them actually, in the last Pistons game and put up 7 points. He is a contrarian punt tournament option only, and even then, I don't have a massive amount. But he's got to get better. He has to be better than what he's been. Has to be. Mirza Teletovic at 3,900. No thanks. Marcus Morris is at 5,700. He's looked good. He's averaging over 30 in the first couple of games. And at 5,700, I think you should have some degree of confidence in Marcus Morris. And the opposite I'll say of Tony Snell. You can't have any confidence in him doing anything. At power forward, Toby Harris at 6,200, I think is solid. I think he's a fairly good cash game play. And to get 30-ish points out of Toby, I think he's a decent guy to look at there. Whereas John Lua at 4,100 has actually really been surprisingly good and getting a lot of minutes, averaging 22 points across the first couple of games for Detroit. And at 4,100, I think you should be okay at that. And if you're just looking to squeeze a more expensive guy in, Giannis, Russ later on, Jim Harden, Steph Curry, one of these guys, maybe Lewis 4,100 gets it done. He gets his 22, 23 points. You're out of there happy and you're done. So that's a possibility. Jabari Parker's struggled from the outset. He's at 6,000. It's not a big salary. He did have 30 points today, which is right on value where he needs to be. He's okay to look at. I don't think you should be falling over yourself to get Jabari Parker in, but he's under consideration. Johnny Henson was big today, but you can't rely upon that at all. And the centers, you obviously can't rely upon Greg Monroe, Aaron Baines, or Miles Plumlee. But what about Andre Drummond? He had 40 points in the last game. He's at 7,900. This is not a tough matchup against Monroe or Henson for that matter, or Plumlee for that matter. Is hacking a possibility? Yeah, it is a concern, and it makes Drummond a tough play, and foul trouble does in cash. But in tournaments, I like him at 7,900. I think he can be really useful at that salary. The next game that is up is the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns. We're talking about a significantly increased tempo here, an over-under of 225 points. The spread is the Warriors by 12. Pat McCaw is out of this game. He's also out of the next game for the Warriors. That's not going to have too much of an impact, I wouldn't have thought. At point guard, Steph is at 8,800, so he's dropped $200. I like Steph at 8,800. I'm probably more tournament than cash for him, but I do like him at that salary. Eric Bledsoe at 7,400. He's put up solid-ish lines, but not really enough for me to get overly interested in using him. He's not a bad point guard option, but he's not a great one, and obviously we're not really too concerned about Tyler Ulis or Sean Livingston at this point. Shooting guards, you've got a couple of options. You've got Klay Thompson, you got Devin Booker. It's 6,100 for Booker, it's 6,300 for Klay. They're averaging 25 and 27, Booker and Klay. Which one do you go for? I think Klay is more of a tournament option, and Booker I feel a little bit more cashy with him, meaning I feel like we're going to get more consistency out of Booker, whereas Klay might have a big night or he might defer to others and have a stinker. That's the way I think that we're looking at these two players. Brandon Knight at 5,800, much better in his second game, and 5,800 could be a real steal for Brandon Knight, but I'm still probably not going to be on him at that price. Kev Durant at 9,700, he's been great, averaging 59 in the first two at 9,700. It is pretty expensive, but if you can get one of those guys in, like a John Lua, as I mentioned, Durant is an option, and he's clearly not really sacrificing anything here in Golden State. 5,000 for TJ Warren, just a beast in the opener. In the second game, 44 points, pretty solid in the opener as well. 5,000 points, $5,000 is not bad. I think that he is a very, very decent play at that price point. Now, the Kevin Durant factor might be an issue on him, but I think at 5,000 you can take that gamble with him. Power forwards, Draymond's at 8,300. Not really overly interested in him at that price. Marquise Chris is a tournament flyer, and Jared Dudley doesn't have much interest to me anywhere. And the Warriors aren't using David West at all. So no deal there. The center, does Tyson Chandler play 38 minutes again? I'm going to guess no. With Chandler, Alex Len, is he going to play enough to matter? I'm going to also guess no. The Warriors are obviously going to go small. Maybe that means Marquise Chris does come in. So when you look at Chris, maybe at 4,000, now if he was minimum salary, I'd be much happier. But Chris at 4,000 in a tournament, maybe if the Warriors go small, he has to play 25 minutes, he gets a couple of blocks, a couple of steals, 8 boards, 10 points. That's not outlandish for Chris. It really means that Len and Chandler aren't going to have any real use at all, though, in this contest. The next game that's up on the slate does involve Kevin Durant's former teammate, and that is the Los Angeles Lakers taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder are favored by 7.5, and the total here is 214. So D'Angelo Russell is at 6,300. The minutes that Luke Walton is dishing out is concerning to me. So I don't hate Russell at 6,300. It's a high-tempo game. Russ does not work as a really good point guard defender. I can see using him, but I am also concerned, so it probably relegates him to tournaments to me. Now, what about Westbrook? 81 in the opening game. In the second game, he's averaging 69 points. But his salary is $13,000. It's too high. I can't justify $13,000 on Russ. You are expecting him to go out there and go 35, 15, and 15, basically. I can't justify $13,000. He went up a full $1,000. I can't justify using him. I know people might say I'm crazy to not use him. It is just too expensive for me. There is no way I can work that into and there's not enough great value plays in other areas on this slate to also consider it. So yeah, it's just too expensive. Vic Oladipo, $7,000. Not quite interested yet. It is a good matchup for him. Devin Booker, not a great defender. But Oladipo is going to be more of a tournament and cash guy this season for most of the year, I think. Jordy Clarkson, 5,400, no. 25 minutes in both games is not encouraging. Nick Young at minimum salary, 15 points a game, 3,500. You want him to do a little bit more. I don't think we put much faith there. Same with Lou Williams and Alex Abrines, not worth discussing. Luol Deng at 5,100, he's been solid-ish. I think Luol Deng's not a bad cash game play. You can get 25 points out of him and feel relatively confident that he'll do that again for you. 4,200 for Andre Robertson. He's averaging 26.5 points in his first two games, which is great at 4,200. I just can't. I can't do it. I just don't have the confidence in Robertson to do it. I can understand taking a punt, but no, not all that interested. Brandon Ingram, no, either. He's not going to play. Enes Kanter at 5,000. Don't know this is a great matchup for him. It's not like the Lakers are going to go really big. They'll play Julius Randle at the 5-some, so that is going to be a concern for Kanter's minutes. That is not good for me, not interested there. Julius Randle at 6,200, just a little bit too expensive for me as well. Larry Nance, Ersan Ilyasova, Domantas Sabonis, leave all those guys alone. Steve Adams at 4,700, probably been a bit disappointing to start things off, only averaging 22 points, but at 4,700, I reckon you can definitely get him in, and hopefully you get a big performance coming out of him. Tim Mozgov at 4,100, I think that's a really good salary for Mozgov, and I think that is, if you're looking to shave $600, $600 off Adams' price, Mozgov is a really good replacement at the center position. The next game up on the slate to look at is the Washington Wizards and the Memphis Grizzlies. The Wizards are favored by 1, don't know why. The total is 203.5. I do know why, it's a back-to-back, but the Wizards were abominable in the opener. The total is 203.5 points. Let's talk point guards. Mike Conley, I think that he's in bounce back-ish. He only played the 24 minutes. I think he can get to 30. Not many people are going to be on him, but at 6,800, I don't trust Fizdale to give him enough minutes to make that dream come true. Johnny Wall at 9,300, no thank you for me. Andrew Harrison, obviously no thanks. He's averaging 8.8 points in 31 minutes. I don't care if he starts, it's just not going to happen. Wadey Baldwin, Trey Burke, not a lot of interest for me with those guys. Marcus Thornton at minimum salary. He played 20 minutes too much in the first game for a total of 20 minutes. Yep, no. Brad Beal at 6,000, I have zero interest in Brad Beal until he proves he can play 30-plus minutes and be consistent, and he hasn't proven that to us at all in his NBA career. For the small forwards, Jim Ennis at 4,100, I really like that. He's averaging 23 across the first couple of games, and I think this will be a good opportunity for him. Vince Carter at 3,900, the minutes have been there, the production hasn't quite been there, but it doesn't take much for him to get to 20 points. Tournaments only, but pay attention with Chandler Parsons out. Kelly Oubre's stunk, and Otto Porter hasn't been much better himself, so neither of those guys are really appealing. I like the power forwards here. I like Markieff at 56, and I like JaMychal Green at 5,000. Both guys can be useful. I think Green could get some extra run with Marc Gasol potentially being more limited in this game, so he's interesting. Well, Zach Randolph, will he get his minutes limited again? Probably not, but with Gasol out, you might immediately think, okay, so Randolph takes extra minutes there, but I think they're on a season-long, let's keep Randolph's minutes at 25 or under sort of idea. So I don't think they're going to say, okay, let's drop Gasol down to 26 or 27 minutes and bump Randolph up to 28. I don't think they'll do that. I think they'll get more Jarrell Martin in there. They'll get more JaMychal Green in there. And maybe they play a little bit of extra Deontay Davis as well to cover that. So I don't see Randolph being a beneficiary of Gasol potentially sitting. As for Gasol, no trust whatsoever. 6,300 for Marcin Gortat, his opposite number. It's pretty expensive. He only had 20 points in the opener. He can be better than that. And I don't hate using him. I just think there's better center options out on the board. We've got one game to go, and it is the Dallas Mavericks and the Houston Rockets. Talk about games with pretty decent sized spreads. This is one of them. The Rockets are favored by 5.5, and the total is 216.5 points. Dirk will be back after suffering a stomach discomfort in that game on Friday. He'll be back. In terms of looking at the point guards in this one, James Harden's not listed as a point guard, so we'll get to him in a sec. Darren Williams at 6,200. Yeah, it's too expensive for Williams, despite the up-tempo game. 5,100 for JJ Barea. He's clearly a big part of the offense and the rotation. I can understand throwing him into a lineup, but he's also got bust potential, but he's not bad to look at. Jim Harden's at 11,200. Now, it's not easy for him to get to that level. It's 50-plus points he needs to get to, but I feel better about him doing it and spending the money there than spending 13,000 on Westbrook, and I can get my value from some other point guards. So I like Harden at that, and he has the ability to comfortably go for over 50. Eric Gordon's at 5,300. He's been pretty productive in the first couple of games. I like him at that salary too. And Wes Matthews, I don't like at 5,000. Not an interest there. Neither Seth Curry, neither KJ McDaniels. Small forwards, the pencil has been great. He's at 5,400. The salary's jumped by $300, but it's not enough to turn me off using the pencil. Yeah, he could fall on his face pretty soon, but I do like using Harrison Barnes at 5,400. Trevor Ariza was great in the second game for the Rockets. He's at 5,500. Yeah, he's a tournament option to me, but I have no trust in him being able to back that up consistently. And Justin Anderson at 4,000. He'd be okay if he was minimum salary. He's averaging 17 across the two first games, but at 4,000, that's not happening. Ryan Anderson at 5,900. No, he's been a disappointment, but I reckon this could be a big game for Anderson, so he is a tournament play for me. Dwight Powell at 3,700. He loses appeal with Dirk back. And what about Dirk himself? Is he useful at 7,100? Well, he dropped 41 in the opener. He's also not playing 38 minutes in this game. So at 7,100, maybe you look at Dirk, but I'm not all that interested in considering him. At centre, Clint Capella. The concern here is the hacking, and Mike D'Antoni came out and said, well, we know Rick Carlisle's going to hack him, and that's why he had his minutes limited in the last game. 4,600, it looks really appealing. We know he can go off. That's a tournament play only. Nene at 3,900, similar situation, because if Capella doesn't play it and gets pulled for hacking and Nene comes in, then Nene's got a real easy chance to exceed 3,900. Andrew Bogut at 4,200 is a bit risky. We've seen one game with Dirk, one game without. He played 19 with Dirk, 26 without. Which one's the real thing? How will they run him? So that makes him a risky proposition to use in your lineups. That is the 7 games for Sunday. Let's go through the picks of the day now. Bring them up on the screen for you on FanDuel. Dellavedova at 4,400, Georgie Hill at 62, and Steph Curry at 8,800. At shooting guard, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope as a tournament punt option, 4,800. Devin Booker at 61, and Jim Harden at 11,200. Small forwards, James Ennis, 4,100. The pencil, Harrison Barnes, 5,400, and Kevin Durant at 97. Andrew Nicholson at 3,600. Now, I didn't talk about him in that Wizards game, but this is purely a tournament punt option. First big man off the bench. He can get you at that minimum salary price. He can definitely jump in and give you 20, 22 points and help you get some other big names in the roster. Jermichael Green at 5,000 and Blake Griffin at 86. And the centers, Steve Adams, 47, and Andre Drummond at 79. Over to DraftKings, Dellavedova's at 3,900. I like him. Georgie Hill at 58 and Steph at 89. So the same 3-point guards over on DraftKings. Shooting guards, Daniel Waiters at 4,000, Vic Oladipo at 6,500, a nice salary for him there, and Harden at 11,300. Justin Anderson's at 3,500, so I like that salary much better on DraftKings. Toby Harris at 59 and Kevin Durant at 9,900. For the power forwards, Johnny Lua 3,400, Markieff Morris at 5,600, and the centers, Marcin Gortat at 55 and Hassan Whiteside at $8,000. We're done. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Google Play, and check out the rest of the podcasts across the Locked On Network. It's the fastest growing podcast network in the world. We cover all of your teams throughout the NBA and in the NFL as well. Tons of stuff. Make sure you are checking out plenty of the Locked On podcasts. Check out Basketball Monster as well. And if you're looking to start up a league, Fantrax is going to be the best place for you to do that. We are done here, guys. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya. Taj Gibson.